and we will exploit this around the planet.
I totally get with it, and it looks kind of like a badly carved jack-o'-lantern or something in the window from what I see, and I want to see more. But if he's been blessed with this close encounter, I hate the idea that everything is monetized. Somebody gets an image or a prophecy from God, and their first impulse is to turn around and try and sell it for $29.95 to anybody who'll listen. And I see that with this, and I just think that just hurts the credibility of it, especially when the only image they'll offer up is this one. I mean, give us then a better image. If this is as good as it gets, okay, but come on.
Well, we got to wait for the documentary. Just this morning, a picture of you appeared on my toast.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm going to sell it on eBay.
Well, I'm into the kitty on that one. If you're serious, I would help pay for that. And I think
we'll do it. We'll get the network to do it, but we can both exploit it on our programs. What's up this Saturday?
Tomorrow night, really interesting book called Sway. It's by the Brafman brothers. They've been studying why it is that people are irresistibly drawn to irrational ideas. How do we understand what is irrational, and why is it that that is more attractive to us than sometimes very simple, very logical things?
That's fascinating. You know what? And you can even equate it in relationships.
Well, exactly. And why people are pulled off of what we can know to be true, the knowable, and that just seems like, that becomes the irrational. And so we'll talk about what is rational and why can we never resist it coming up tomorrow night on Coast to Coast.
You got it. Thanks, Ian. Have a great weekend. And we'll be back in a moment. We'll take phone calls with Paola Harris on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. We're with investigator Paola Harris. Her website, I'll spell that for you, is PAOLA. Harris, Paola Harris. We're going to take your calls in a moment. Paula, we left off with talking about the possibility of a lie detector test for Stan Romanek, and you were mentioning the Travis Walton case, of course.
Yeah, because the Travis Walton case is famous for lie detector tests. I mean, the gentlemen that were with him took lie detector tests, and I don't know if the sheriff believed them when they saw what happened to Travis, and Travis also took several, I think, lie detector tests, and they passed them. And if this is what we're using to say that there is extraterrestrial life, then it should have happened with the Travis Walton case. I mean, we should know from what happened to Travis. As you know, he saw two different types of beings inside the craft, and he passed the lie detector test. Now, we could do this with Stan also because his story is very complicated. It's one of the best cases ever. It's been around for 5 years, 4 or 5 years. So we could do that. We could have him, take it, he'll pass it, and so forth. But I ask the listeners, what do we do after that? I mean, what happens on the planet after that, after we realize that this is a real situation, that we are not alone, that we have these beings among us? And again, part of me is a little bit hesitant because it's, again, a gray, and I'm doing a lot of work with human-type aliens, that there are human-type aliens around, around us, and then we have this media blitz about a gray again. So, there's part of me that has conflictual issues here.
Okay, let's go to some of the calls. West of the Rockies, Dale in Las Vegas. It's your turn. Hey, Dale.
Hi. I just wanted to tell you, I worked in scientific instrumentation for a long time, and every day I used to measure my galvanic skin response. So when I got a chance to be, they gave me a lie detector test. I purposely used to lie on every one of them just to see. And the truth is, all you have to do is practice your breathing, 20 breaths per minute. You breathe in, you breathe out. You breathe in, you breathe out. And then the next thing is your heart rate stabilizes and your galvanic skin response stays the same.
But not everybody is probably as good as you were with this, Dale.
You can sit there and I can teach you in 2 minutes of just practicing breathing, and you'll notice everything stabilizes. And I've done this so many times, I can show it to anybody. A lie detector test actually cannot detect a lie. It can only measure those 3 things, and a person can easily control those 3 things.
I know, Paula, back in the 1960s, a television consultant used to recommend hiring television anchormen on a local level by using galvanic skin tests all over the country. It was an amazing tool.
Well, I think, George, I agree with you. I think that should be part of it. But I also think the people that have been investigating this case for the last 4 years should come forth, because there's also Claude Swanson, who's a scientist who's investigated this case and finds Stan credible. So what I would do, which would be an ideal, is bring all the people that investigated the Stan Romanek case, all of them together in a room, and do this scientifically, do this intelligently, and see if he's telling the truth with all of the information, not just one frame of the video. I personally...
Well, what I would do is I would have everybody like you, like Professor Swanson, interact with the lie detector expert, giving him information and questions so he could formulate his test, and then we would give it to Stan. And this would not be done to slap Stan in the face. I think he's a pretty credible guy. We've talked to him before on this program, and he's a hard researcher, as you've said. I think it would send a message, Paula, if he passes, to the entire planet that this is real stuff.
I agree with you, George. Can we get this done?
I'll pay for it. You get Stan Romanek. We'll get some of the people who are familiar with the case. We'll get you folks to talk to the lie detector expert. Tom's got a couple that he can talk to and hire. I'll get the network to pay the bill. Of course, my vice president right now is going, "Oh no, George, don't say that." But we will. I have a pretty good idea what it's going to cost, and let's give Stan the test, and then let's release it to everybody. I'll put it on this show. I'll give it to Larry King. We'll give it to Matt Drudge. We'll get it all over the planet and see what happens. Whether he passes or not, we'll send it all out to everybody.
I agree.
And it'll be based on questions that all of you provide to the lie detector expert, who's not going to know anything about the case, but he's going to need a formulation of questions.
Well, if you can get this together, I think that would send a greater message than even the video. Because the video, for me, is just a part of it. It's the part that's, the most sensational.
Yeah.
But the case is amazing. I find this case amazing.
See, to me, what's important here is the man responsible for this video. So if the lie detector test, in whatever way they ask this, says, "Are you aware if somebody was in a costume hiding behind the window doing all this?" These are the things I want to find out. It's possible that Stan is being duped by someone. Who knows? But if it comes out that Stan Romanek believes that this is true and testifies to it, it gives us a great story.
I know, I agree, but there's too much paranormal in his life that can't be faked. That makes me believe that this story is pretty amazing. And then, George, we also have to realize it's being attached to an initiative, a ballot initiative, and that gets a little tricky. Because my feeling is, as a journalist, and I have to be honest about this, I think Jeff Peckman is a courageous individual, but I would hate to see us do with aliens what we did with Native Americans and have a Bureau of Extraterrestrial Affairs. You remember the Bureau of
I don't think we're going to be able to control them. If we're being visited, I don't think any commission is going to be able to dictate policy to extraterrestrials. If they got the kind of technology to get here, Paula, I think they're going to tell us what to do.
I agree with you. I agree. I would rather work on the awareness, and I would rather work on us here on Earth, and I would try to do something like this, because I think that, agreeing with you, they're an advanced, and there's so many different types. I'd like to see us not concentrate always on the grays, because you're going to see the little green men. You're going to see all the cartoons, cropping up in the next few weeks. But there are also beings that look like us that are walking among us, and I'd rather see that go out.
Absolutely. Wild Card Line, you're on with Paola Harris on Coast to Coast. Hello there.
Hi, I have a question. She mentioned something about human-type aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And what does she mean like that? I'm thinking like Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, a galaxy far, far away.
Talk about the hybrids and the Nordics, if you would, Paula.
Yeah, I'm working on 2 Italian cases, and they're very verifiable, because these human-type aliens contacted politicians, members of the Vatican, cardinals, and so forth in 1957 on the Adriatic coast of Italy, and they look just like us, except they're much taller. And